Hello, I'm Esther Githui-Ewart. It's Tuesday, December 28th. This is Africa 54.
COVID hospitalizations rise in under-vaccinated Democratic Republic of Congo. A prize-winning Senegalese scientist aims to make access to energy storage in rural areas easier. And evolving gender roles in Kenya's Maasai community.
We begin in Central Africa. Among the world's least vaccinated countries against COVID-19, the Democratic Republic of Congo is struggling to keep up with the fourth wave of the coronavirus, which is pushing its limited healthcare facilities to the brink. Gavino Garay reports.
At the St. Joseph COVID Treatment Center in Kinshasa, patients lie in ramshackle rooms breathing oxygen from old tanks. The clinic has 38 beds and all but one are occupied. In a backyard littered with medical equipment, tents are needed to cope with the overflow. The Democratic Republic of Congo is the least vaccinated country against COVID-19 in the world. Now, a fourth wave of the coronavirus threatens to put greater pressure on its limited health system than at any time during the pandemic. Francois Kajingulu is the head of St. Joseph.
We have experienced the three previous waves, and gradually we saw the cases increase. In the fourth wave, there are overnight jumps. On Monday, we had 5 to 6 cases, and on Saturday, you go straight to between 30 or 36 cases, so 6 times higher. So there is a very rapid rise in COVID-19 cases in this fourth wave.
The increase is part of an Africa-wide surge that saw weekly COVID cases spike 83% in mid-December, driven by the Delta and Omicron variants, although deaths remain low, the World Health Organization said. Congo registered 6,480 new cases in the week of December 13th, more than double the number hit during its previous record in June, WHO data show. The official infection tally in Congo, which has a young population and where few people get tested, is still low compared to many countries. But the low level of inoculation worries health officials who say that unvaccinated populations increase the risk of new variants emerging. Fewer than 300,000 people out of a population of 90 million have received at least one dose, Reuters data indicate, lower than anywhere else. Hostile terrain, remote populations, and lack of resources have stunted vaccine rollouts. The recent surge in cases has pushed authorities to ramp up inoculations, and the weekly vaccination rate is at its highest yet. This tented vaccinodrome in capital Kinshasa is part of that effort, where some who received their shots said they were persuaded to do so because of the latest surge.
Before, we were in the dark about the consequences associated with this fourth wave of COVID-19. This is too strong, and COVID really exists, and to protect myself, I've come to get the vaccine.
Health workers at the center are vaccinating around 200 people per day, but that is still below its 300-person capacity.
Gavino Garay of Reuters filed that report. The United States says an attempt to suspend Somalia's Prime Minister Mohammed Hussein Roble was alarming and that it supported his efforts for quick and credible elections. The U.S. State Department African Affairs Bureau said in a tweet late on Monday that it was also prepared to act against those obstructing Somalia's path to peace. On Monday, President Mohammed said he suspended Roble's powers for suspected corruption, a move the Prime Minister described as a coup attempt, escalating a power struggle between the two leaders. President Mohammed accused Roble of stealing land owned by the Somali National Army and of interfering with a defense ministry investigation. In response, Roble says the action was unconstitutional and aimed at derailing an ongoing election for lawmakers. He also ordered the security forces to start taking orders from him instead of the president. Mourners are continuing to arrive at the Cape Town residence of Archbishop Desmond Tutu on Tuesday, 2 days after his death in a nursing home aged 90. On Friday, Tutu will lie in state at St. George's Cathedral ahead of Saturday's funeral service, which will be led by Archbishop of Cape Town, Thabo Magoba. Among those who visited Tutu's residence were clergymen from different denominations.
We used to claim a little piece of Desmond Tutu because he was baptized a Methodist. But the point is that even though he was an Anglican priest and bishop, ultimately he became the pastor of the nation. And his ecumenical spirit embraced every possible Christian denomination and every faith, and people of no faith. So he belonged to all of us. And when he received the Nobel Peace Prize, I remember welcoming him back to South Africa with the words, "Now you belong to the world."
We are saddened by the demise of Bishop Tutu. But nonetheless, we are celebrating. Celebrating because all the things he stood for came to be realized.
Officials say Tutu's funeral service will be limited to 100 people under COVID regulations. South Africa's international relations minister told journalists it was still not known who from abroad would be attending the service. Cape Town City Hall was bathed in purple light on Monday to honor South Africa's anti-apartheid hero Archbishop Desmond Tutu, a day after he died in a Cape Town nursing home at age 90. City Hall and the Table Mountain, which rises above the city, will be illuminated every night this week in purple, the color of Tutu's clerical robes. Tutu, a Nobel laureate who had preached against the tyranny of the white minority, was revered by black and white South Africans alike as the nation's moral conscience. His passing prompted an outpouring of tributes worldwide, including from U.S. President Joe Biden and his predecessors Barack Obama and Jimmy Carter, Britain's Queen Elizabeth, Pope Francis, and the foundation of Nelson Mandela, South Africa's first black president and friend of Tutu. Ugandan police say they have arrested 29 alleged members of a suspected newly formed rebel group seeking to topple the government of long-ruling President Yoweri Museveni. Police say the group, called the Uganda Coalition for Change, had established training camps in central Uganda and were behind attacks on police personnel this month that left at least 4 of them dead. Police say guns were also stolen. Uganda's Daily Monitor newspaper reported that 2 police officers were killed in an ambush in Mityana district about 70 kilometers west of Kampala in early December. NTV Uganda reported a second incident on December 17th in which 2 police personnel were killed in an attack on a police post in a nearby area. A new $1.3 billion commuter railway in Senegal, meant to ease traffic gridlock and modernize a crumbling public transport system, made its inaugural journey from the capital Dakar on Monday. The regional express will connect Dakar with Diamniadio, an industrial city being built on a dusty plain about 40 kilometers away. The first new railway since independence from France in 1960 is a cornerstone of President Macky Sall's Senegal Emergent Plan, which includes a new airport, roads, sports arenas, and a sleek conference center. The air-conditioned trains are expected to reduce pollution in Dakar, where old buses and taxis haul clouds of black smoke as they inch towards the capital each morning. Senegalese scientist Ndeye Martin Diaye is the winner of L'Oreal UNESCO for Women in Science Prize, which rewards 20 women scientists on the continent each year. Diaye's research focuses on energy storage and aims to facilitate its access in rural areas. Alison Lekogo-Fernandez and Bashir Yaz-Bodian filed this story for VOA from Dakar. At Cheikh Anta Diop University in Dakar in the physics department laboratory, Ndeye Martin Diaye is working on a project that could revolutionize access to energy in rural areas using organic materials such as peanut shells, hibiscus or bamboo, the postdoctoral fellow is developing batteries.
Usually for this type of application, people only use chemicals. What is new is the use of 100% biomass. Another thing is that we use what people usually throw in the street.
It's clean and cheap energy that's intended to reduce the use of fossil fuels. The project was initiated by Professor Bala Diop Ngom in 2014, when Day was one of his students. She devoted her master's and her thesis to the subject.
She's the right hand of this project. She's the one who is really there, active. She is a trustworthy person. She is a reactive person. Science has no time. It's all about reaction. So it's important to have these kinds of people around you.
The 38-year-old Day is now a teacher and a researcher, and this year she has split her time between Dakar and Philadelphia in the United States, where she obtained a scholarship. She hopes to become a model for her students in order to trigger their interest.
In Senegal, women scientists, the percentage is low. It is important for us to carry this work to motivate other young women to join us, to work together. We are going to change Senegal, Africa, and why not the world?
And her fight seems to bear fruit, especially in this laboratory, which accommodates a majority of women, a rarity on the continent.
It's very rare to see a married woman who continues to do research in this area. There aren't so many of them. They are very rare, found especially here in Africa, because here we consider that the place of women is behind the stove. This motivates us. She's an example to all of us here.
Displaying her generosity, Day has decided to devote her endowment to the purchase of equipment for her laboratory. Thanks to VOA French colleagues Alison Lecogo-Fernandez and Bashir Yaz-Bodian, who produced that story. Lake Phoenix Scuba Park and Family Campground is a complex in rural Virginia where divers go for training and to keep their skills up. VOA's Tahira Kibria visits this underwater park where divers can interact with various attractions, from deliberately sunken helicopters to cars.
It's the next best thing to being in space. It's the weightlessness. It's the same feeling, I would suppose, as astronauts feel, you know, when they're up there. But we're down here in this beautiful world, and it is also a weightless, beautiful world.
Just being suspended, like the whole world's moving, but you aren't if you don't want to. And you don't weigh anything, but you weigh everything. The whole thing is kind of there.
It's a perfectly preserved ecosystem here because no fishing, no poaching, nothing, none of that is allowed on the property at all.
Primarily, it's a scuba park for training and then to keep your skills up as a diver. We are a campground as well. So you can bring your RV in, your family, and we have 50 amp, 30 amp hookups for your RV, water, and a dump station on the way out. The helicopter. So we submerged that. That came from the Navy and muchly appreciated. It was fun to sink. But other things we get from donations, a car here or a bus, we prep it to get it ready for the water so there's no harmful chemicals or oils that are left behind.
But whatever your favorite food is, every time you eat it is a new experience. Mm-hmm. We had a new experience today. And when we dive later on in the day, it'll be a new experience. The plane's been there for years. We've dove it there for years.
We're shouldering almost 90 to 100 pounds of gear on us before we get in the water. And once we get in the water, all of that becomes neutral and weightless. But to that point, you have to get from point A to point B.
You gotta get it.
We have to learn how to react to the environment as the environment changes. all of a sudden you're diving and all of a sudden some haze comes through, algae comes through, it decreases your visibility, which means that our team skills have to get tighter and closer. That means we have to even get closer. We have to learn how to be able to manage problems and manage failures while we're underwater and still keep each other safe and bring each other home.
We have been pretty fortunate. People needed a place to go. This is outside. And go scuba diving. You don't have a minimum distance underneath the water. People dive all year round.
Diving's great everywhere. There is no bad diving, all right? A dirty water hole, if you're under the water, it's a good day of diving. I've messed up some dives, but I've never had a bad day diving.
We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Still to come, why are Kenya's Maasai women fending for their families while men stay home? We'll have a report. But first, Hedy Adams tells us what's on tap for Wednesday's Straight Talk Africa.
On the next edition of Straight Talk Africa, we'll explore the multiple waves of the global African diaspora. Diasporan communities are found in nearly every part of the world. But how has their connection to the continent changed over generations? We'll also profile young diasporans making their mark in American politics. Be sure to join me, Hedy Adams, on the next Straight Talk Africa.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Women in Kenya from the pastoral Maasai community in Taita Taveta were traditionally not allowed to go out to look for food, as that was responsibility of men. Today, however, the roles are reversed as women go out to work and provide for their families while men stay home. Juma Majanga reports from Maungu, Taita Taveta, on what climate change has to do with this shift of gender roles.
Zamani ushanga ambayo tulikuwa tunashona. Ushanga alikuwa anashona, ninashonea hii kidole, ninashonea masikio, ninashonea shingo. Hatuna biashara yoyote ya kuwa tunauza ushanga. Utauzia wapi? Sina juu pahali ambapo najua. Hata tulikuwa hatujui kwanza ushanga unauzwa. Tuuzie nani?
Kina mama wa Kimasai alikuwa atoka afanya kazi kwengine, maana kuna majukumu ya nyumbani. Yeye ndio anatafuta kuni, yeye ndio anatafuta maji, yeye ndio anaenda sokoni kununua chakula ya watoto. Kazi ya mzee ni kung'ang'ana na mifugo. Najua mifugo iko mara ngapi? Mara 3. Kuna ng'ombe, kuna mbuzi, kuna ndama wale wadogo. Sasa kazi ya waume ni kazi ya mifugo peke yao. Kwa hiyo sio rahisi mama atoke aende afanye kazi kwengine, maana mzee akitoka kama anaenda kung'ang'ana na mifugo yake, anayobaki pale nyumbani ni mama. Kwa hiyo si rahisi apate nafasi ya kwenda kufanya kazi.
Mama tu ni kukaa tu kuangalia mali na kukamua na kupika basi. Mzee alikuwa anashughulika mambo zingine sote. Akishika ng'ombe mmoja ama mbili na ana mahali nzuri anafuga, kwa miaka 10 utakuja kuta hiyo ng'ombe mbili imefika ng'ombe 50. Maana ndio kazi yao. Lakini sasa
kulingana na hali ya anga vile ilivyo, imekuwa ngumu pia wafuge hivyo.
There was a lot of slash and burn agriculture in this area. People could just cut down forests. We had natural water pans in the forests, but those water pans have already dried up. We had some rivers which were flowing down from the top of the hill, and that water could stay for a longer time. But these days, those rivers are no longer there. This is because of the change of weather patterns, and it's because people have destroyed the forest.
Sasa huwezi kupata mzee ako na ng'ombe 100 hapa. Kwa mfano mimi ndio nawaongoza. Niko na bibi 2. Niko na wakasa wanangu, bibi za vijana wangu 4, kwa hiyo jamii yote kuna mama ni 6 na ng'ombe haifiki hata 20. Silikufa hata imebaki kama ng'ombe 15 hivi. Sasa una shida ukigawanya hizo ng'ombe 15 kwa kina mama kwa kila nyumba pale.
Anyasa na lenyoroi anyo na ribanga samu kutunyabu anyebo nwenga Musa kwa juu kasi nyingine, kasi yake tu ni ya mfugo. Ikitaka chakula mpaka ause mfugo. Sasa hizo mfugo ndio hizo sasa hausiki. Sasa tutabaki tu kuangaliana na hao wa mabibi zetu. Ndio sasa naweza patia ruhusa, si ndio nimekuja sasa kupatia ruhusa sasa. Aenda afanye hizo mamradi. Ndio sasa tuangalie kama atapata kitu kidogo ya kulete nyumbani. Halete chakula nyumbani.
Hiyo shida ya mume wangu vile amekuja paka akaja kaaga imeletwa ni hiyo. Kumbe kitu ambayo unaizamini unaifanya kama mtoto. Mzee wangu ameanza peresha hapo na mwisho wake amekuja kwangu kuchukuliwa ni hiyo peresha. Amejamu tu kumpeleka Voi hapa na ikawa ya kwake imeisha. Na peresha imekuja kwa ile mfugo yako. Watoto kama hawa wote ng'ombe zimeisha, nitawapa nini? Tunenda tukashonee wazungu hizi bangili. Gari za wazungu zinakuja kama hapa, maana ilikuwa gari za wazungu zinakuja. Unaweka pale. Unanunuliwa penginepo, maana penginepo na nyuma moja ni shilingi 500 wala shilingi 300. Unakimbia, unajua mtoto wako atakula nini? Atakula nini?
Mwanaume sasa Kimasai sasa akifika mahali yeye anachua watoto, aisee ndio inakuwa ngumu. Lakini sasa mama sasa ndio akaona kazi, na asipoenda hatutapata kitu, tabidi tuvumilie. Na bado kuna shughuli za mifugo pia, wadogo hao hajatoka pia, unaangalia pia hapo. So tumekuta sasa sisi wanaume tumekuwa na kazi nyingi nyumbani kwa sababu mama kutoka kwenda kwa kazi yao ya kikundi.
Kitambo wazee ndio wanatafuta wamama akaa kwa nyumba, nakamua, naosha hiyo kibuyu yetu ya kukamua maziwa, alafu nafanya kazi yao kwa nyumba. Mzee naenda kutafuta jioni na kuja kukula, nafanya kazi ya boma. Lakini siku hizi wamama ndio wanatafuta, wazee siku hizi hakuna kazi. Angalia tu watoto, mbuzi, na watoto ndogo ya ndama, alafu mimi naenda kutafuta na kuja kukula wote na yeye.
Wanataka mind zao zimepanuka sasa. Wamekuwa na mindset tofauti. Anataka amke, asimamie wengine, wanataka kwenda mbele, warejeste zile vikundi kama za walemavu kwao. Naona tu wamebadilika, hawako kama vile walikuwa.
Zamani ulikuwa unaambiwa kichwa ya nyumba ni nani? Kichwa ya boma, si ndio? Naambiwa ni mwanaume. Sasa mimi naona kichwa ya boma ni mwanamke. Kwa nini si kwambia hivyo mtoto wangu? Naona wajukuu wangu anatoka huko, wachija. Anakimbia kuliko aende akamwambie babake nimefukuzwa skuli. Anakimbia hata kama ni kumsalamia, anamsalamia tu kwa kichwa, anakimbia. Kwa nini umekuja mama? Nimefukuzwa ni mwalimu, nenda kwa mamako. Zamani ilikuwa kuna hiyo.
Sasa hii ukikaa mtoto anakuambia mama siende kushona, nipate chakula. Sasa utabidi utatoka. Anajua mama ametoka, akirudi anaka mfuko ya unga. Hawezi kulala njaa.
Mimi kama mama ninafurahi, maana kama naenda nje kutafuta pesa yangu, nakuja kukula na familia yangu. Nyumba nakuwa mzuri, kama pesa ni nyingi najenga nyumba yangu. Najenga nyumba ya kupanga. Sasa hiyo kazi imekuwa mzuri sana. Naona kwa nyumba yangu iko sawa. Hata kwa familia yangu. Maana kama naweza kupata pesa, hata mamangu naweza kupata kitu kidogo. Kwa ndugu zangu sisi nakula wote.
Maisha yangu sasa hii imebadilika sana. Kwa sababu vile nimeona maisha imebadilika. Watoto wanaenda mbele. Kwa sababu hii pesa ambayo napata naendeleza watoto wangu kwa masomo. Na naendeleza kwa kila kitu, kwa sababu nguo ya shule mimi naendeleza. Sasa hii nimeona mbali sana kwa sababu watoto wameenda shule kubwa sana. Na kwa sababu ya hiyo miradi yangu.
Kule tumetoka tunataka tu hiyo nguo ambayo tumelikuwa tumelalia tuitupe. Tunataka nguo mpya. Tunataka mabadiliko. Ndio tunataka.
Our thanks to Juma Majanga, who filed that report for VOA from Taita Taveta, Kenya. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.